Hello, I'm Bernard Hickey from interest.co.nz and welcome to a special series of reports on the 11 megatrends of 2008, brought to you in association with ASB. Now, the final megatrend of 2008, the amazing development of deposit guarantee schemes. Obviously, this has never before happened in New Zealand, and in much of the rest of the world, these deposit guarantee schemes didn't exist at the beginning of the year. In fact, no one would have even thought that anyone would do this, but we all pretty much have them now, and all because of an amazing sequence of events. If we all cast our minds back to the first 2 weeks of October, in years to come history books will be written about these 2 weeks. They were the weeks when the world's financial system stood on the brink of complete meltdown. It all started when the Irish Prime Minister got a late night visit from the three chief executives of Ireland's biggest banks. They came to him and said, "Unless you guarantee our deposits, we will collapse tomorrow." The Irish Prime Minister took immediate action, essentially sent out a press release saying, all of Ireland's bank deposits are guaranteed by the government. This shocked everyone in Europe. At a time when many banks were distrusted, a lot of money flowed from the rest of Europe into Ireland on the strength of this guarantee. It caused mayhem. Throughout Europe and the rest of the world, people were asking the question, should I be moving my money to Ireland? In the space of a few days, Greece, Spain, Germany, and then eventually Australia and New Zealand went down the route of a deposit guarantee scheme as well. And many other countries significantly increased their deposit insurance schemes. We all remember back on that Sunday when Helen Clark surprised everyone by announcing that New Zealand would go down the path of guaranteeing all bank and finance company deposits. It was a dramatic move at the time, on the night when she launched her re-election campaign. It caused mayhem at the beginning of the election, and for a couple of weeks there, it looked like a crazy idea. But eventually it was tweaked and has become something useful, and in a way New Zealand had no choice. It's been tweaked in some good ways. All finance companies, to start with, were guaranteed at no cost. But that was eventually scaled back a bit, so that only existing finance companies who weren't in breach of their trust deeds could get the money. And any new deposits they raised above their October 8 levels were charged. This was to stop finance companies running out there and grabbing huge amounts of market share off the banks. We also saw the introduction of a wholesale deposit guarantee scheme as well, where the banks can raise money offshore using guaranteed bonds. And we saw the Reserve Bank of New Zealand create a facility called the TAF facility, the Term Auction Facility, which means that banks can essentially borrow money from the Reserve Bank using their mortgages, securitized mortgages, as collateral. And so far the Reserve Bank has lent the banks $4.45 billion. The wholesale deposit guarantee scheme has yet to be used by our banks, but it's already in action across the ditch in Australia. And our banks believe they will need it next year to raise money offshore to roll over the foreign debt that New Zealand banks have. It has distorted the market though, this deposit guarantee scheme. As recently as early October, many of the finance companies were on their last legs, but they were saved by the bell of the deposit guarantee scheme. Those around have seen huge inflows into their coffers, to the point where some of them have actually cut their interest rates to levels that aren't attractive, to stop the money coming in. They've simply got too much and have nowhere to lend it. It's also made it difficult for the corporate bond market because they're not guaranteed, and when they try and sell to pension funds and others, they're struggling to get demand. Ironically, this has been good for the market because corporate issuers like the Auckland Airport, like Genesis Energy, and now the Auckland City Council are going to be offering retail bonds to regular mums and dads to invest in at quite high interest rates, higher than the banks, because that's where the corporates think they can get the money. So there we have it, the 11th megatrend of 2008, deposit guarantee schemes. Who would have thunk it? I'm Bernard Hickey. That was a special report brought to you in association with ASB.